Hello and welcome. Well, Devimon, so long. You may have not been the best villain, but a few episodes from now, I'm gonna really be wishing that you were still here. But now we're getting a little ahead of ourselves, so on to the episode. The episode opens where the previous one left off, with the strange holographic man introducing himself to the kids. He congratulates them on their victory, but says there is more work to be done, that they must cross the ocean from File Island to reach the continent of Server. Other than that, the old man is mostly just mysterious and doesn't have any answers to the many questions on the minds of the kids. The best he can do is tell them that indeed there are more villains out there, and in order to defeat them, the kids are going to need extra help. He tells them that their Digimon will be able to digivolve again if their human partners locate their tags and crests. The tags have been hidden away by Devimon, and the crests are scattered all across the continent of Server. He says that finding these and unlocking their power is the only way they'll be able to defeat the new villains that they'll encounter on Server. He gives Izzy a map over to Server, but then the call cuts out and the kids are left to wonder how to get across the ocean. So once again, we see the same strategy in play, and once again, I like it. We're not given all the information that goes for both the audience and the kids, but we get just enough to lead us on to the next arc so we can continue to find out what's going on. While Genai was able to offer a little bit of help, he couldn't tell us very much, so all we can do is follow what he said and hope more answers bear out in the future. I like this strategy. The kids debate whether or not they should even listen to this Genai guy for a few minutes, but eventually they decide they need to find a way to cross the ocean. So they start building a raft, and eventually a bunch of other Digimon show up to help them, and just before they set off on it, TK's Digi-Egg hatches into a Poyomon. So they set off, and damn it, why is Ty narrating? It's not very often, and I guess it's not the worst thing in the world or anything, but I don't get why some episodes need narration from one of the kids and the others don't. Now, for the record, I actually like what Ty is saying here. He's basically talking about how they learn to work as a team, they learn to be united, etc., etc., but I wish he had said it in some form of dialogue opposed to narration. So not much happens for a few minutes, but then the boat comes across a tidal wave. They manage to clear it, but they realize the tidal wave was created by a Waymon surfacing. And let me just say those kids built one hell of a raft, because in spite of being knocked around and riding huge waves, it doesn't even get tipped over, much less submerged. Maybe they built it out of magic trees. Anyway, for reasons unknown, the Waymon seems to be attacking them. Eventually, it just swallows them, and you know what? This episode really is chock full of awful dialogue. I know all the episodes have it to some extent, but this one seems to have it really bad. It just seems like every other thing that these kids say in this episode is dumb. Usually it doesn't bother me too much, but in this episode, I gotta say, it kinda gets on my nerves. So anyway, they sail down the esophagus, and I'm actually kind of amused by the things that happen in here. For instance, on their way down the esophagus, a bunch of slimy gooey things start trying to attack them. Presumably, they're antibodies attacking the kids because they think that they're germs. And then, when they get down into the stomach, a bunch of stomach acid starts pouring out and eating away at their ship. I actually kinda got a kick out of all of this and enjoyed it. Instead of just making the whale's stomach like a place you can hang out, there was actually an effort to make it act like an actual body would. Now, how accurate that attempt was is up for debate, certainly, but I appreciated the effort, and this was actually a fun sequence. Quickly, Sora spots a black gear stuck in the roof of Waymon's stomach. Tai goes up and uses his Digivice to destroy it. After this, Waymon ejects the raft along with all the kids and Digimon out through his blowhole, which tears the ship to shreds. They land outside in the water, and Waymon apologizes for his actions. When you get right down to it, this episode is just missing one thing: Wilson. So Waymon offers to give the kids a ride over to Server, which he says will just take him a couple of days. So they all jump on his back and start cruising towards Server. Eventually, they get around to asking Waymon some questions, and he reveals that he knew Devimon hid something near the bottom of the ocean. The kids assume they must be the tags, so they jump inside Waymon and start going down to the bottom of the ocean. I actually kind of like Waymon, and I like the voice actor who's doing him. There's something just nice and calm about it, kind of likable. I enjoyed his performance. So Waymon takes them down into a cave area and drops them off. The kids go further into the cave and find a convenience store. Just as they're about to go in, however, they get attacked by Dromojimon. One thing I noticed about this scene is I think it's TK that says the Digimon's name is Dromojimon. How the fuck did he know that? There's a chance I might be wrong and it might have been Tentomon who said it, but if it's TK, then maybe they need to ask that kid a few more questions. It sounds like he knows some stuff that he's holding back. Yeah, whatever. So, of course, the Dromojimon has a black gear in his head and says that he's guarding the convenience store and not allowing anyone entrance. So Ikakumon knocks him down and Kabuterimon blows the black gear out of him. Inside the store, the kids find a box that contains a whole bunch of tags. This always kind of struck me as lazy, and it ends up feeling kind of unbalanced actually. Over the next several episodes, the kids are going to find their crests one by one. It's going to be difficult, time-consuming, and somewhat meaningful when they find them at the end. Them finding these devices one by one was a journey in and of itself. The fact that this episode just had a quick detour that just so happened to produce all the tags in one area that was fairly easy to reach, I don't know. The fact that they were able to find all of them at once always kind of bothered me. Like, it was no big deal about the tags, but the crests. Oh yeah, the crests. If you ask me, there didn't need to be tags. Just have the crests. The tags are unimportant, and the whole subplot of them going to find it feels unfinished and rushed. All this will probably make a little more sense when we get into future episodes when the kids start looking for crests, but it's really not that big a deal, so I'm gonna leave it at that. So the kids get back up on Waymon and start sailing towards Server once again. I really don't know what to say about this episode in general. It does serve its purpose, and it does show our characters getting from point A to point B. We get a little bit of useful information on the way, and some of the things they did were pretty fun. On the other hand, the dialogue in this episode was especially bad, and I felt like half of it was just filler that really didn't need to be there. So I don't really know what my final verdict is, but I suppose the episode is serviceable. And that's really the best verdict I got. Thank you.